thank you guys so much for joining us. We've said this in the other ones, but as always, we really appreciate the dialogue. We really appreciate kind of the insights that you pass along. Like the things you ask questions about are what your readers care about, and those are the fans that like our products. So this is super helpful for us, and also it's just fun. We get to take 3 hours out of our day and just chew the fat on Star Wars, which is the best possible way to spend our day. So thank you guys for taking your lunch hours. I know it's evenings places, so yeah, we just really appreciate it. So thank you. Absolutely. And we'll dive in. I believe that Chris from Banthaskull is first up.
Hey, Patrick, can you guys hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay.
I can at least.
I just want to preface that I don't like throwing people's quotes back at them, but I think this one needs clarification. So, Patrick, during the PulseCon live stream, you said that if the Razor Crest gets backed, quote, there's a pretty good bet that we will have really all the figures that interact with it. Fans are extremely literal, and in this case, they are latching onto the word all, which is a pretty expansive list when it comes to the Razor Crest. In a literal sense, that would include characters like Amy Sedaris' mechanic character, Pelimoto. Can you clarify that all statement, if that all statement was literal, or was the intent of the statement more along the lines of all the key characters or all the people that actually fly on the Razor Crest?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I went back and rewatched it. So one thing, first of all, if you go back, I said, and I understand this words sound the same. I said nearly all the figures, not really. And so I understand those sound the same. And again, this isn't us walking anything back. We obviously had some caveats in there, right? Like we said, pretty good bet. We said nearly all. And so again, this isn't me walking anything back. Like our intent with saying that was to communicate that there's more coming. Like, and I've read online, like the key figures that you want for the Razor Crest, again, without saying anything, without making any promises, like it's a pretty good bet that they're coming. That was basically meant to assure fans who were going to spend $350 on the Razor Crest that there was going to be more than Mando and Cara Dune to interact with it. And I think we've already seen that with some of the reveals that have come, some of the tiered offerings. There's more, even in addition to that coming in 21 and beyond. But yeah, there was no guarantee, obviously, as we see more seasons, like we're not, and I appreciate you asking the question, Chris, because I know it's a question out there, so it's good to clarify. It was never intended, and honestly, the words were never such that it was a promise or guarantee. And that's not us walking anything back. That's clarifying what was kind of stated initially. So appreciate it. The main ones, there's a pretty good bet we'll see them.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely. No worries. Thanks for asking the question. All righty. Next up, we've got Paul from MintinBox.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I'm the French guy of the group.
Not at all. No, it's great.
Sorry if I made mistakes. I have a question about the Black Series lightsaber, the Force FX. My first question, it's a question in two. Did you see the release of the Legacy lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge, who made approximately the same lightsaber as the Force FX? And did you plan your release with them? And the second one, did you plan to release a dark saber from the Mandalorian in Force FX line? Because at each Mondo Monday, I hope to see it, and our fans too.
It would certainly be a fun reveal, wouldn't it? Well, we can't talk about anything that's coming or not coming. What we might do, what we might not do. You guys know that. You've been through this before.
I'm sorry, it's my first time.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we can't comment on anything that might be happening or might not be happening down the road, like future stuff. But we're fans here, and we want to see that stuff too. So
keep in touch.
Yeah. And always feel free to ask. There's nothing wrong with asking. We'll answer or dance around or offer breadcrumbs as we can, but never feel like you can't ask.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. I believe Mark from Fantha Tracks is up next.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Now that photoreal is very much a part of the Black Series and the Vintage collection going forward, are there any other advancements that we should be looking out for on the horizon, be it deco, be it mechanical, be it packaging? Are there other things on their way?
So we're constantly looking for ways to improve and expand kind of the accuracy, fidelity, and feature sets of our stuff. So I don't have anything to tell you, but yeah, I mean, that's always something we're looking to do. Is we don't want to keep producing the exact same thing over and over again. We want to keep growing and improving. So yeah, that's stuff we look for constantly.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Jose from Endor System.
Hi.
Do we have Jose? Oh, hi, Jose.
Yeah, hi. How difficult was to select the Razor Crest as the new Haslab project? Did you have any other choices that were not selected? And are you planning to have another Star Wars Haslab project before the Razor Crest is delivered to collectors? Or are you going to wait until the Razor Crest is released?
Well, the Razor Crest is the project for now. And it was a pretty clear choice for us as soon as we saw Mandalorian and started talking about a new Haslab. I mean, it's such a critical part of the show and key vehicle and such great features, and was one of those dream projects, like we say on the site, that I don't think there was a way for us to do it justice in a mainline release. And Haslab really let us play with that and do that. So other future Haslabs, we'll just have to wait and see. But I think the success of the Razor Crest is definitely has us energized to look into that more too. So
each Star Wars Haslab, the fans, do a better and better job. So yeah, it's an exciting future. Cool. All righty. Victoria from Victoria's Cantina.
All right, so Hasbro recently released the Black Series Anakin from Attack of the Clones. Unlike what was shown in the promotional images, he's missing a skirt piece that goes in here. What happened, and has this been addressed?
I'm not sure. That's not my line. We can look into it though and get back to you with a better answer, because I don't have one for you, and I don't think Patrick does either.
Yeah, it's a good question, and certainly something. Yeah, we'll dig into, and we'll have LPR revert back with an answer.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't have an answer for you on it, but we'll get you something.
Great. Back up to Chris from Banthaskull.
Well, first of all, Victoria, I didn't know we were allowed to bring our toys. I feel gypped now. But
well, you don't have them on your desk?
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
Who is that? Is that Hunt? Yeah, Hondo.
Yeah, Hondo. Great figure. Sorry, I'm getting it. Regarding the figures included with the Razor Crest, will the soft goods Beskar Mandalorian figure be carded and numbered? And will the Child and Jawa be numbered as part of the continuous mainline collection? And will any of them be unpunched? Well, sorry for all the questions in one.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw some of the numbered ones to Patrick, but the Mando figure, he's not carded, and because I mean he's so specific to that ship with the fabric cape and wanting people to be able to pose him and play with the ship and put him in the cockpit. It felt harsh on our part to put him on a card and then make people tear him off immediately, knowing how much our fans love their carded figures. So that was when we made that decision early on to include him without the card for that purpose. The other ones, Patrick, on the numbers?
Yeah, so I think, again, it sounds like, Chris, you like that decision to not be carded.
I love that decision.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
And I think once we had the child there, which is on a card back, and hey, fingers crossed, we're watching those numbers. We'll see if we get to 17. We'd love to put that carded Jawa in there as well. We were like, we probably don't need 3 carded figures. In terms of numbering, they will not be numbered as part of the mainline numbering. We're talking, we might do something like we did with the Power of the Force Yak face for the barge, where we gave it kind of a special different number. We're playing around with that, but it won't be part of the mainline numbering. And in terms of unpunched, you guys don't want them unpunched, right?
No, I want them unpunched.
Yeah, you want, sorry, 2 double negatives. You want them unpunched, you don't want them punched, yeah. I think that's our current plan. That's what we did with Yak face for the barge. It doesn't need to live on a peg, so I don't know why we wouldn't do that again.
Great. Appreciate it.
Cool, absolutely. All righty, Paul, back to you.
I have a question about the Gaming Great collection and the Galaxy's Edge Black Series. Why is the figure don't have the new packaging of the Black Series?
Absolutely. No, it's a good question. It's because basically our new line look launched, obviously, as you know, kind of this fall, a few months ago in August. Both of those were kind of collections within the Black Series that spanned all of 2020. So Gaming Great Galaxy's Edge, we didn't want kind of the first couple figures to be, in the old line look, and then the next ones in the new line look. We wanted them to live as a kind of cohesive look. That being said, moving forward in 21 and Belong, everything will be in the new line look. That was always the plan, but especially after, it's not often that kind of we all agree on something, but pretty much everyone seems to agree that the new line look is a good look for Black Series. So that's definitely the standard moving forward.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mark, back to Mark.
Okay, you were very quick, and thank you for this, for bringing the Razor Crest to the UK and to Europe this time round, as opposed to the barge, which obviously took a lot longer.
Yep.
What was the difference? What was the change that facilitated that happening so quickly? And
That's interesting. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's just basically, I think we remember saying with the barge that basically we spoke to this. It's the logistics and kind of the legal aspect. It's just it's a lot to figure out for every new market. And so basically with the barge, it was like, well, we could either launch it in the US and Canada at that point in 18, or we could have waited for a couple of years and done it internationally to kind of take that time to figure out the logistics and the legal aspects. And so we weren't able to do it for the barge, but now we've spent the past 2 years figuring that out. It's interesting. First time I heard about it, I'm like, I can't be that much. Like the details that go into it are significant. And so we owe a great debt to the Marvel campaign for the Sentinel, and they kind of built off what we did with the barge. And so each new Haslab project we've been able to continue and improve. And yeah, we're thrilled. The Razor Crest campaign, like there's a significant portion of international backers, and we're adding them in throughout the campaign. We wanted to do that. Like we made sure all the EU and I believe at that point it was Mexico's backers were in there. When we funded it at 6,000, like that's due to EU and Mexico backers just as much as the US and Canada. So it's truly a global effort to get that made, and we're really appreciative to all the fans around the world.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. Back to Jose. Jose.
We love playsets, and we're happy that you are doing more of them in the 3/3/4 line. But do you consider adding at least any cardboard as well? It would be great in a new carbon freezing chamber playset, for example.
That would be very fun. There wasn't that consideration originally for those sets. I think it's a fun thing to look at going forward, but we don't have any plans for that, and nothing to give you guys for that. But I'm with you. I think that's a fun ad, and is a fan of the classic stuff from Kenner back in the day. I think that was a fun feature with a lot of those play sets. So it's definitely worth looking at going forward. So
Great. Victoria, back to you.
All right, another Black Series question. So at Hasbro PulseCon, you guys showed a fantastic looking Black Series Darkseid Rey. In the film, her lightsabers are unstable, just like Kylo's, but the figure looks like she has smooth lightsabers without that effect. Since that was just a prototype render, will the final figure have the unstable blades?
Patrick, do you know for sure on that?
I don't know. So that's another one we can follow up on if we need to.
I think they're smooth blades, but that's just me trying to remember from what I've seen of it. I don't have a 100% positive answer for you.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that.
They're like Kylo's. They're the erratic blades.
Right.
Great. We will look into that and follow back up through LPR. Sorry about that, Victoria. All right, back up to Chris. I'm going to stop reminding Chris that he's from Banthaskull because I'm sure he knows.
Yeah, but this Chris isn't from Banthaskull, so.
There we go. Fair. Chris Swansky. You're up next.
So the most recent fan channel wave is not being well received by the fan site community. You previously said that fan channel waves hitting brick and mortar stores are not intentional, yet all 3 previous waves have shipped to brick and mortar. there's real worry that if the fourth such wave makes it to Target and Walmart, that it will sell poorly and prevent more desirable product from reaching the pegs. Is this wave intended for brick and mortar?
Short answer is no. And again, it's a good question, and thank you as always for bubbling up the questions that might not be the easiest to answer, but I know that are on fans' minds. Yeah, so basically, again, the intent of all those waves is for newer fans. It's for, more casual fans, younger fans, fans just getting in that need those kind of foundational figures that we released, 10 plus years ago. So that's the goal of those waves. They're primarily intended for other markets or in the US for fan specialty. You're right, they have been showing up at brick and mortar. Basically, as soon as we kind of launched that at PulseCon, I made sure that, I talked with our US team and discussed that that's not supposed to end up on brick and mortar pegs. So we're working to ensure that doesn't happen. Additionally, moving forward, one thing we might do, this is getting a little technical, but establishing kind of separate 5 digits for these two, just like the Archive and Black Series and our Black Series mainline are separate 5 digits. That makes it kind of easier for retailers to track exactly what they do and don't want. So without getting into the weeds, that, is what we hope will be a positive development. But yeah, the intent is to not end up at brick and mortar, and we're doing what we can to make sure that doesn't happen.
As you know, I'm a big fan of the concept of the
Yep.
It's just not that specific.
It's just managing it. Yep. Absolutely.
That one I'm not a fan of. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks. Paul, back to you.
Sorry. It's another question about the Black Series gaming grade. Is it a deliberate choice to not make main characters for some games like Power of the Force? It's not Starkiller, it's a Scout Trooper, I think, or to not make the main character of the game for some video game?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that the strength and kind of the magic of Star Wars is that, certainly the main characters are iconic, right? Like Luke, Vader, Leia, Han, from the new trilogy as well, now Mando, but like there's also magic in kind of the troopers, like they're so iconic, and the background characters. So I think just like we do with kind of the films and now TV entertainment, we're trying to do a smattering of characters across the line. Certainly we've done some main characters. Darth Revan, obviously was, I think, our first video game character in the Black Series line. He's pretty significant, but also kind of, pay homage and kind of respect characters from across the spectrum. So I think we'll see that moving forward. Main characters, but also trooper variants, background characters, etc.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mark, back to you.
Hello again. There were some issues over the summer with rippling and veining on some of the card backs. Have you been able to address that?
I mean, that kind of falls under the, we're always trying to improve stuff. We're aware of that. It's a matter of working as many channels as we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Because that's not ideal for anybody.
No.
For us or you guys. So yeah, it's part of that evolving or constantly churning process of making sure anytime something changes, making sure we work through that. So
gotcha.
Great. All righty, Jose, back to you.
In the 3/4 line, you have done a lot of characters from the Cantina and the Jabba's Palace. Are you considering making more figures from this particular sense in the movie, but in the Black Series 6 inches line?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting. So Black Series obviously is a bit younger than, certainly younger than Vintage, a few years younger, and then, Super Articulated 3 3/4 inch, even younger. So, in Black Series, it still astounds me some of the characters that we're getting to for, the first time. And, I'm trying to remember some without giving away anything coming in the future, but obviously it took us until 2018 to do Han Solo Bespin or Leia Han. Like those are foundational, iconic figures, but it was just a younger line. So, you're right about the aliens from Jabba's Palace, the Cantina aliens from A New Hope, without saying anything specific about, any future releases. Like those are, even though they're background characters, they're so iconic to Star Wars as a brand and as entertainment that, I will be excited for when we do see them in Black Series someday. And, it's going to take longer than Vintage because Black Series is newer, but, I think, you know, it's certainly a good bet that we'll see some of them in the future. Great. Awesome. All righty, Victoria, back to you.
All right, so many of the vintage collection figures from Rogue One, including Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, K2SO, Chirrut Imwe, and Death Star Gunner all have the same green name pills and colored backgrounds. Why is this?
I think that was done as for a consistent line look across those figures, and Patrick can probably answer some of that a little better, but.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it was I think it was basically like with our vintage line. Obviously, you know, we've got kind of the original Kenner figures that are the template is set for those. But the cool thing about vintage is getting into these newer entertainment properties. And so it's interesting. Sometimes I ask our brand design team, like, oh, why is this one this color? And like they go into detail on, well, you know, the inspiration for this came from a stormtrooper in the original Kenner line or a droid, and so. Basically, they're kind of tracing all of that throughout the years. And one thing we always talk about with the vintage collection is that precedent and consistency is so important. Like, we definitely pay attention to those details. And so our brand design team, who are also fans, just like all of us, they have all that knowledge. They basically trace those arcs and precedents and try to recreate those. Now, sometimes I remember when we put Leia Bouche on a card back and recreated that helmet at the top, sometimes fans didn't like that and didn't want it to be consistent. So we try to strike that balance. But yeah, basically there's no kind of, it just happens to be the case that they're all from Rogue One, but it's trying to draw those ties to the past.
Right. Well, and with Rogue One, there weren't previous figures to reference for those too. So, but like Patrick said, like we'll get on a meeting and we'll be sitting there discussing whether the font in the pill is white or black and how big the font is and how big the pill is and where it is and all those crazy little details that we love as much as you guys. So.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Back to Chris Swansky.
I love that thing with Leia with this helmet being separate, by the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing with vintage, right? It's like, it's the consistency, but also obviously the figures are super articulated with great deco, not original Kenner figures. So it's striking that balance of the new and the old.
So we can infer that the less expensive the Haslab item is, the more backers it requires. The Razor Crest is 6,000, the Barge was 5,000. A lot of fans would love to see fan-centric background characters come to Haslab, like Cantina aliens as an example. I don't know if you can answer this, but just a hypothetical, say there was a 4-pack of Cantina aliens at $15 a piece, $60 total. Is there any way you could estimate what the backer level would require, just so we can set expectations with the fan community?
Absolutely. Let me pull up my calculator. No. Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's something we've talked about. Like, certainly, as Chris said, you know, earlier, Haslab is for those dream projects that can't make it to brick and mortar retail. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be something that we don't think we can do through the normal means. So kind of some of the more niche but still exciting figures are definitely in scope. I don't know exactly how many numbers, but I think you're right. It would be more. And I'm not sure it has so much to do with like how expensive or inexpensive it just has to do with kind of the tooling investment and other factors. And basically it has to make sense for us to do it. And so it would probably be a higher backer number, but it's a cool idea. It's something we've discussed and it's something we could see in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, Paul, back to you.
Yeah, yes. Small question about the retro collection. And we all think after the Empire Strikes Back wave, there will be a Return of the Jedi one. But
it's didn't we?
It's a new question about what next. So do you think about Ewoks and Reed's figure to do it again? Because a lot of vintage fans want to see it again, this figure again.
Yeah, no, retro's been awesome, honestly. And it's interesting, like, obviously vintage and Black Series for our fan line, those are like the focus. Those are the established lines with the established fans. But obviously, like, we innovate things, right? And our design team is so creative. Chris and the rest of the team, like, they have so many amazing ideas and we try them out, right? And some of them don't work and that's fine. But some of them, like Force FX Elite, you know, our premium roleplay fans love those new features. Retro, We initially thought that was going to be a more casual audience, and like we do have some data that casual fans are buying them, but like the established fans, like I remember when we revealed them, they were like, I don't know, and then we launched them, and the more established fans seem to like them as well. So retro is something we're excited about. Definitely has a bright future, and yeah, we will definitely go back to some of the more classic properties at some point in the future. But like, there's been a lot of excitement about Mandalorian retro. And so I think that opens the door to newer entertainment as well. So, there's a lot of different ways we can go with retro in the future, and we're excited to see what happens.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, Mark, back to you.
Yeah, just to say that retro Mando line looks amazing. That lit me up the other day.
Awesome.
Hasbro PulseCon, it went down really, really well in a summer of online events. It was one of the standouts. Are there any plans to do that kind of thing again? Will it be an annual event, or will it be more regular, like your fan day, your fan first Fridays and stuff like that? What's the plan?
Yeah, no, we were really excited with PulseCon as well, and we did HasCon a few years ago, and that was a fantastic event, our first in-person convention, and obviously, like you said, 2020 is the year of the virtual conventions, and so we gave it our shot, and yeah, we loved it. Everything we saw, it seemed to go really well. And I think most importantly, fans enjoyed it, right? It was kind of value added for fans, which is fantastic. So there's no plans at this point, nothing to report, but it was a great event, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Good. And thanks for bringing Tenacious D on. That was amazing.
Absolutely. They're awesome. All righty. Jose, back to you.
Thank you. We saw your new holiday edition 6-inch figures in the Black Series line. Do you consider making Ralph McQuarrie concept design collection in the Black Series 6 inches line?
Yeah, no, it's something we've talked about. Obviously, I don't think it was in this interview. I think it was another one. We were talking about the credit collection, and just kind of the inspiration there for kind of the concept artwork came from Ralph McQuarrie. Like, Ralph McQuarrie is, one of a handful of kind of the godfathers of Star Wars, right? Like, that concept imagery is so foundational. I love the 3 3/4 inch scale figures in the Ralph McQuarrie styling. It's definitely something we've talked about for 6-inch. I think, as Chris said in this round of interviews, like, there's just so much to choose from, honestly. Like, there's so many classic sources, the prequels, we've just barely scratched the surface. We talked earlier about kind of some of the more niche aliens. Now we've got Mandalorian. Like, there's so many figures we haven't done from that. So there's a lot of great options for the future. We're lucky it's an embarrassment of riches. But Ralph McQuarrie's cool, and yeah, maybe someday.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. All righty, back to you, Victoria.
All right, so in recent years, rumors have suggested that Lucasfilm is no longer permitting merchandise from licensees based on Hutt's Princess Leia. However, she was one of the options in the Black Series archive poll. Can you confirm if there is in fact a mandate preventing merchandise of Leia in that outfit from being made?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, we obviously, we get a lot of feedback from the fans, and kind of, we're always, thrilled to bring figures that Star Wars fans are passionate about. Right now, we're looking to grow the Black Series and the archive, and we're excited about that poll. And, Cody was the kind of clear choice in the first round, and so it seemed clear he was going to win. Right now, that particular version of Leia doesn't really fit where we're hoping to take the brand. But there's no kind of strict rules, and yeah, we're open to things in the future.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, back to Chris, and I think we're on the final round of questions, right?
Yes.
This is question 5, yes. So, and I think we're doing pretty well on time, so we don't have to lightning round this one. So fire away, Chris.
Has the runaway success of the Razor Crest given Hasbro confidence to increase its investment in vintage collection?
Yes. So short answer, no. I think it was actually on these interviews. I think it was, Chris, I think it was your question back in May that launched the whole market demand thing, which is honestly fantastic. Like, we've loved seeing the petitions. We've loved seeing the online campaigns. Like, that's more information for us. We've learned more about the market demand for the vintage collection. And this is just another, kind of pillar in that support. Like, the Razor Crest campaign, like, has been phenomenal. Like, let's not undersell it. Like, the fact that it hit the backer goal in, I think it was 26 hours, the fact that it's north of 16,000 backers right now with still, I think, 5 days left to go, like, we've been so excited and so blown away by the success. And so, yeah, it's certainly more evidence in favor of the fact that there's a passionate group of vintage fans out there. And, we've said before that we've got, a bit more coming for the vintage collection in 21 and beyond. And that's still true, and maybe even more so. So we're excited about the future for the vintage collection, and we hope you guys are as well. And I know you'll be more excited when you actually see it. Hopefully that day will be here soon in the next year or so.
20,000 at least for the Razor Crest.
I wouldn't rule it out.
We have already moved through another 100 backers while we've been in this interview. So
really?
Yeah, we're at
Wow.
16,314 right now. So
Wow, that's incredible. That's awesome. All righty, Paul, back to you.
Yes, in fact, I have no more question because my last question was there will be a new unlock for the Razor Crests, but I already have the answer since the last time.
There we go. Yeah. Awesome. Okay,
Thank
Mark.
you.
over to you.
Thank you very much.
Reuse that. Is there going to be one past 17?
That's a fair question.
Good question.
It is a fair question. I mean, we got to get to 17 first. As I think Chris mentioned in this round of interviews, like, again, we were blown away, right? We didn't expect it. We had the 2 tiers planned, bringing us up to 10,000, and based on the barge, we thought we were all set. And so it was a very pleasant surprise, and we kind of scrambled and reacted a couple of times. We're 5 days out at this point, and we're not yet at 17. So we'll see what happens. But I think if we get the Java unlocked and have 5 tiers, we'll feel really good about this campaign. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping we get there. Awesome. Good question, Paul. All righty. I think we're going to Mark now, right?
Yeah. The recent holiday line of figures announced at PulseCon, are there plans to do more? By the way, they've sold out in the UK pretty much, so they've gone down gangbusters. Are they a finite thing? Is that the 5 and that's it? Or because they've been successful, would there be plans possibly to do more in the future?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we can't drop a surprise reveal although that would be awesome someday if we kind of held something back for a surprise reveal during the interview.
Put a bunch of stuff in our pockets
Yeah.
in the future. Yeah.
We did that actually, I think, in our live stream where we teased the Razor Crest, right? Where we always get questions about Haslab projects, and so we then answered one of those questions that we normally couldn't answer. But for the holiday figures, again, we've been really excitedly surprised. I don't know if that's an adverb, but we've been excited and surprised. Like, we talked in the PulseCon launch. Like, it was a cool idea. We weren't sure how it was going to go over. And obviously, like, not everyone loves it, and that's fine. It's not for everyone. But it did really well on pre-order, and like now we're seeing in market results, and we'll see how it does. Without saying anything about the future, I can't comment on any current plans, but we always say if there's a demand for something, like, it's probably a decent bet that we'll meet it. So let's see how they do, and we'll go from there. Cool. Jose, back to you.
Thank you. We didn't see some core characters from Star Wars Resistance series in the 3 3/4 collection, and none of them in the 6 inches line. Are you planning to have more of the Resistance figures back one day in any collection in the future?
That's a good question. Again, we can't comment on anything not released. I always just have to offer that caveat. But I think this goes back to that kind of earlier statement about just the embarrassment of riches, across Star Wars, especially in the 6-inch line, again, just because it hasn't been around as long. So there's more to get to that we haven't done already. With the prequels and, the background aliens from the original trilogy, the Mandalorian, new entertainment coming up, any figure we did from Resistance would have to swap out, for one of those. We can only do so much. So we'll see. But I think, again, like with always, we want to hear what the fans think, right? Like, I haven't read a lot online of fans clamoring for more Resistance at the expense of some of these other areas. If that changes, then, it's certainly something that we could add to the line in the future. And so I think the kind of direct action is fans, out there, if you're reading this or listening to this and you definitely want more Resistance figures, more so than kind of some of those other areas, definitely let us know. Let us know through the comments. Let us know kind of, through interviews like this, because because we're always willing to react to that.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, and I think Victoria is going to bring us home.
All right, so this builds off something Chris was saying a little earlier. In a recent episode of the Vintage Collection podcast, which we just launched last month, and Chris is one of the co-hosts on that show.
Yeah, I saw it.
Nice. A refresh wave for the Vintage Collection was unveiled. And apart from the battle droid, there doesn't seem to be a lot of fan demand for these particular versions of some of those characters. For example, there's an Anakin and a Padme that were done in 2015 in the Black Series 3 3/4. They've never been on vintage cards. They're in their main costumes from that film. So we're just kind of wondering, when there's other options like that and other high value options such as the Magna Guard, 501st Clone Trooper, General Grievous, Echo Base Rebel Trooper, why were these particular choices made over some of those other options?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think this goes back to kind of the idea that the goal and the strategic purpose of the specialty waves is for newer fans who, you know, are kind of new to collecting, whether they're younger or in international markets or whatever. And so the goal of these is to offer those figures that, and this came out of kind of years of conversation with our international markets. It's the rationale for the archive collection as well. Like the whole point of the archive collection for Black Series was, hey, you're a Black Series fan, and in this case, you're a vintage fan. You know, yeah, you're excited to get these new figures, but you also want kind of the core main characters from, you know, back in the day. And this is a chance to get them out there. So again, these are entirely incremental line. They don't take the place of any newer figures. So they're purely a bonus. And if it's not for you, that's totally fine. Not you, Victoria, but you people out there, that's totally fine. In terms of why these figures were made, again, we do a lot of research through a lot of different tools. And we have kind of some of those more aimed at the casual fan. So that helped us point us in this direction. You know, some of the figures that you named off, the Echo Base Rebel Trooper, the Magna Guard, those are great characters. Maybe not, and we can disagree about this, but maybe not for a newer fan or a fan with a more casual knowledge of Star Wars. So that's the rationale behind the choice of those figures. You know, and some of those we might be saving for the future for various reasons, but that's a little glimpse behind the curtain for the rationale.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I think that brings us home. Which
Speed
is
round.
we got
Speed round.
I don't think we have time. I think we have another set of interviews.
Left, yeah.
Yeah. Chris, you already got an extra question.
did? Oh,
yeah.
I just
It's all good.
else's.
We would love to keep talking, but then we would be late for our next group of interviews. So, but maybe we'll schedule time afterwards with a beer or something. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Like, as I said at the top, you know, we really just appreciate being able to connect with your readers, your fans, and also just it's fun to do this. So thank you guys so much for taking the time, and we look forward to doing it again, you know, not so distant in the future.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Everybody.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much.